Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christian Silveranis. I am the Sustainable Design Building Specialist for the Port Authority of New York. I am in charge of reviewing all of the sustainable design submissions for all TAAs. And today we'll be very quickly looking at the Sustainable Project Initiation Form, which is the fifth, which is the form that is filled out to make the determination on the applicability of the Sustainable Building Guidelines for the Port Authority. Um, so we'll be looking at what is the sustainable design workflow for accessing and determining accessing the SPIF and determining its applicability to your project. Then we'll be looking at what the common challenges in a typical SPIF completion. And quickly we'll be looking at some challenges in an actual SD submission and common challenges in the checklist completion. Moving forward. Uh, so we'll look at the sustainable design workflow very quickly. To the left, we have two sort of starting points. One is whether it is a new tenant or an existing tenant with a change of leasehold, or an existing tenant with no change of leasehold, making an alteration to the space. Both get to a point where they need to fill out, as Kimberly stated, a project initiation form, but also a project spiff. If the determination is made that this is a minor works application, then the project would be exempt from sustainable building guidelines. If it is determined that it is a tenant alteration application, then the project team will receive a spiff from the tenant coordinators. On the right-hand side is a quick view of what a spiff form looks like completed, but we'll move forward to see the individual sections. Next slide, please. So eh, the common challenges in the typical SPIF completion is the project teams do not provide a clear scope of work in the SPIF form. Projects must provide a clear scope of work for the in order for the sustainable design manager to make a determination on the sustainable design requirements. This often have had to be revised due to insufficient information. Another challenge is sometimes the coordinators submit on behalf of the design team. We request that coordinators should either have the design team submit the SPIF or CC them in the email. This would expedite the process of granting the design team access to the credit checklist and templates if it is determined, in fact, that sustainable building guidelines are applicable to your project. Next slide, please. So this is an example of the different sections in the SPIFs. To the left, we start with section 1, which is the project information. So we do require that you fill it out to its completion, letting us know what is the facility, the TAA number, the project title, the project gross square footage, engineer or architect of record, who the tenant coordinator is, construction cost, estimated schedule. Section B basically asks us to have you, let us know what you believe this is. What type of project this is, whether it's a new construction or reconstruction, an interior construction, which is what most TAs tend to be, or small projects and primary systems. This is when you're only affecting 3 or less sort of scope types, whether you're doing roofing, windows, building envelope, plumbing, site work. 3 or less would determine this to be a small projects and primary system. And then at the bottom, highlighted in red, or circled in red, is the very important scope description box. This is a typical description that we would like to see. For example, it would state something like, this is an interior alteration for the expansion of the current Terminal B travel lounge, demolition of existing partitions, ceilings, and furniture of adjoining hold rooms, installation of new partition ceilings, lighting, expansion of existing HVAC system, additional air handlers, installation of new unisex bathrooms. This gives me an idea of the different types of scopes, whether it's plumbing, electric, demolition, so we can make the determination. In this instance, this sample project, would be determined to be an interior construction. having to comply with LEED CIV4. Again, there's two compliance paths. You can either go for a formal LEED submission, or you can submit a LEED equivalent submission to the Port Authority that would be audited by us. Um, so here's where I would sign and return back to the design team with a link, person specific link to all the design team members. Um, as stated, when I read out the description, this gives us the opportunity to determine the type, the project categorization, the rating system, and then we would send this back along with a person-specific uh, link to all the design team members that are CC'd on the email, for access to the credit checklist and credit templates that need to be completed for the submission. Moving forward. Common challenges in an actual SP submission. Sustainable design mission, sometimes the submission is not downloaded properly from eBuilder. The tenant can sometimes upload a submission to eBuilder and it doesn't get properly downloaded to us and saved on the QAD review file for PA staff. This leads to confusion and frustration for the tenant when they receive a repeat comment. So if the tenant does submit a sustainable design submission, please make sure you remind your tenant coordinators that this is the tenant submits a sustainable design submission folder full of blank documents. Tenants have on occasion submitted a blank checklist and template they downloaded from our website. And sometimes this is done to make it appear like a complete submission, but it generates multiple rounds of comments and reviews because it is, in fact, incomplete. Next. This is an example of the proper folder structure that would be looking for. So include a completed, for your submission, we would ask you to include a completed SPIF folder, SPIF form in the main folder, and then include completed credit checklist in the main folder, and then create individual folders for each credit category. Within each folder, you completed for each credit. Within each folder included, the completed credit templates and backup documentation will be stored. And if a resubmission, if it is a resubmission, read the comment responses to see if the tenant claiming to be submitting. This is for the tenant coordinators for them to check whether they are responding to our comments or not. So I think if we have any questions about the SPIF itself, we can move on.